If senators confirm justices who are willing to pervert justice in cases where children have been sexually abused, they have a warped judicial philosophy which you better believe they're going to apply to the Second Amendment. Did you watch any of the recent Supreme Court hearings in the Senate? Except for a few outstanding lines of questioning by senators like Cruz, Hawley, and Lee, it went exactly as you'd expect. All the senators you expect to vote for her threw meatballs right down the middle of the plate. And unsurprisingly, a few senators you know will likely vote against her were too afraid to ask tough questions and just wanted to pretend the hearing was designed to get to the truth. The reality of these hearings is that they're rarely more substantive than a student government meeting, and probably twice as useless. The Supreme Court nominee hearings demonstrate how the current practice reveals nothing of the nominees' actual positions, and they're just smoke and mirrors. But before I get into it, I want to tell you, if you don't like and subscribe to this channel, you are directly responsible for the next COVID variant. Don't say I didn't warn you. Let's start with the fact that some senators don't believe how you think about the law even matters. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the dark money recipient who opposes dark money when other people get it, said the following.
The fact that Judge Jackson has said, I don't have a judicial philosophy, I've got a judicial methodology, doesn't bother me a bit. In fact, it kind of bothers me the expectation that a nominee to the Supreme Court should have a judicial philosophy.
But what exactly is the difference between a philosophy and methodology?
Because a judicial philosophy can be a screen for a predisposition that judges frankly should not have, but that folks in powers and interests influential in the process may very well want them to have.
Oh, I see. A judicial philosophy is when a judge has a view which I don't like, and a methodology is when a judge has a view which I do like. Got it. Ignoring that pseudo-intellectual garbage from a guy who looks like he thinks unsalted butter is spicy, a person's philosophy, whether judicial or otherwise, is just their way of looking at the world. If you come into a situation without assumptions, a philosophy, you have no idea of discerning what's important and what's not. Imagine someone trying to write a book about the history of America from the founding until today. If they came to it with nothing but a methodology, they would know how to research and cite their sources. But their book would be nothing but a collection of events that have occurred. But a philosophy, or assumptions of how the world is and should be ordered, can tell the author of this book what's important and what's not, and why it matters for today. And that worries me, especially if this person can't give a definition of what a woman is.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So
I'm not a
The
biologist.
meaning of the word.
For this next part, please clear the kids out of the room if they're watching. Despite overwhelming evidence and unusual sentencing patterns, senators who are politically aligned with this nominee refuse to dig into her pattern of handing out very light sentences for the possession of sexually exploitive images of children. Senator Hawley was the first to bring attention to this issue, and other GOP senators also decided to ask serious questions on this to the judge. Ironically, senators on both sides were upset that tough questions would be asked to a person who has a job that demands she answer tough questions. Jackson's defense was that she made decisions which were standard for other federal judges. But that's the problem. If your justification for letting child abusers get reduced sentences is, well, other judges are doing it, you've just demonstrated the rot in our legal system. That's what happens when you defer to methodology. These confirmation hearings are battles of egos, not ideas. When a reporter asked Democrat Senator Jon Tester what he thought of the line of questioning from Republican Senator Josh Hawley that Judge Jackson was lenient on cases involving the sexual exploitation of children, he said, I think that's bullshit. The guy's running for president, and he says outlandish things. Even though Tester admitted there might be something to Hawley's allegations, he dismissed them merely on the basis of who was the messenger. Rather than engaging in the debate, power-hungry politicians would rather blow off these questions. Just because Senator Tester has politically different opinions from Senator Hawley doesn't mean the question isn't worth exploring. Another method of turning a judicial hearing into a circus is by gaslighting people into oblivion. Endlessly, supporters of Judge Jackson will fawn over how nice she is to the victims of child porn.
You would carefully consider victim impact statements when imposing criminal sentences. Could you tell us a little bit about this and how you considered crime victims in making your sentencing decisions as a judge.
You have met with, fought for, and advocated for victims.
And so this implication that somehow your thoughtfulness on these very dense, fact-specific cases is somehow out of the norm, to me, does not hold up, doesn't headwater.
I really appreciated early on how you talked about these child pornography cases. A former prosecutor could totally see where you were coming from when you talked about looking at these cases as a mom and a judge.
And you've answered them fully, fairly, and thoughtfully in every instance. And through that, you've shown clearly that you have the temperament to serve on the Supreme Court.
One of my guests today was the cleaning lady in our office who works the midnight shift, but she wanted to be there because she wanted to see this judge and hear her and show her support. When we asked her afterwards what she thought of the hearing, she said it was really interesting, but there are some mean people in there.
Okay, that is the definition of gaslighting. That you know one thing to be absolutely true, that the evidence she is excessively lenient with child abusers is overwhelming and should be investigated. But people are ignoring that fact and telling you to believe the total opposite.
And the two guidelines you disagree with is, one, there's an enhancement for use of a computer, and you say the world has changed and now all of these are on a computer. And I understand that. I don't agree with you, but I understand that. That is a understandable thing to say. And you say repeatedly, for example, in Chazen, you say, whatever the state of the law and technology at the time of the guidelines were first adapted, neither the use of the computer nor the number of images are especially aggravating factors today. Now, I find that bizarre.
You said, in your case, I don't feel that it is appropriate necessarily to increase the penalty on the basis of your use of a computer, and we've talked about that, or the number of images or prepubescent victims as the guidelines require, because these circumstances exist in many cases, if not most, and they don't signal an especially heinous or egregious child pornography offense. Help me understand this, Judge.
I just want America to know, God, I trust you.
I'll leave you with this quote that, to me, sums up a lot of what's happening right now. Anyone who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. So what does all this have to do with gun rights? To protect the Second Amendment against bad laws, we need a legislature, a presidency, and a court that respects the Constitution. Call your senator and demand they reject the anti-constitutional Judge Jackson, as well as other justices who have no regard for justice. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time.